Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Just so everyone knows, we are recording this webinar. We're going to send out the recording to you afterwards, so you can, check in on some things that you learned, or if you want to pass it around to your team, please feel free. We're really excited to have you here today to talk about how to get more of the right clients at the right cost as well. So we have some great people here from the Scorpion team to kind of talk about that, and I'm going to let everyone introduce themselves really quick. I'm Andrew Adams. I'm Director of Vertical Growth here at Scorpion. I work on our corporate marketing team and specifically with our law firm clients on how we can best help you grow your firm. And we'll let Ashley Kim introduce himself.
Yeah, hello. I'm Ashley Kim, Senior Vice President of Advertising. I oversee the advertising product development and product strategy here at Scorpion, and really looking forward to sharing our thoughts with you.
Awesome. And Matt?
I'm Matt Bentley, Scorpion's Chief Data Scientist. I've been working with SEO since about 2002 or so, potentially maybe even a little bit earlier than that. I was at Stanford at the same time as the Google guys, so early SEO. And since then, I founded and built one of the first SEO software companies to apply AI and machine learning to the problem of SEO. That company, Kenner Inc., was acquired by Scorpion a few years ago and incorporated into our Ranking.ai product. Now I manage that and Scorpion's other AI and machine learning products.
Great, thanks, Matt. And for you, if anyone doesn't know, Scorpion is a marketing company that helps law firms run their best practice. Today, we're going to be kind of talking about advertising, SEO, and reputation, and how those three things can help you get more of the right clients, more of the right cases, and overall make your marketing more effective. We are going to have time at the end for a Q&A, so feel free to drop any questions in the Q&A section on the Zoom, and also the chat if you have anything else that you'd like to bring up as well. So kind of to get started, we wanted to talk about, first, before you can send people to your website, send people to your practice, you need to know about your clients. This helps with efficiency, making sure that you're reaching out to the right people and spending your money wisely and getting those marketing dollars, the most out of those marketing dollars. So just some quick stats, 66% of customers expect companies to understand their needs. This is an important one, I think, for lawyers too. And more than just they need a lawyer who is doing X, Y, and Z practice area, they want their lawyer to kind of understand how they want to be communicated with and what their expectations are, and understanding their overall needs more than I just need representation in XYZ. Another interesting stat, 1 in 4 customers in every industry are willing to pay up to 10% more if they know they'll receive excellent customer service. So great kind of thing to keep in mind as you're making sure that your firm's supporting your clients and how that affects overall revenue. This stat is wild to me and super important on the quality of your website, which is something that Scorpion is very focused on as well. 75% of consumers say they judge a company's credibility based on website design. So as we talk about SEO, ranking, and advertising, if your website wasn't up to par, and 75% of the people you were spending money on to send them there left, not a great ROI on your overall marketing efforts. So just a little kind of background on why we went with this topic was we wanted people to get more of the right clients and also talk about the importance of knowing who your right client is, or who your the right case for you is, and how once you start spending money on SEO and advertising, knowing those things makes the process a little bit easier. So first, we're going to dive into SEO with Matt a little bit. So Matt, first question, kind of tell us a little bit about why SEO is so important to law firms today.
Sure, yeah. So SEO is the practice of improving your website to help it rank better in search engines like Google. And if you're here, you probably know how important good search engine rankings are, but just to kind of put some numbers to that to help quantify the opportunity here, Google alone gets almost 300 million searches every single hour. So it's like the entire population of the US searching something on an hourly basis. That's more than Yelp gets in an entire month. And a good chunk of those searches, the estimates from Google are about 46% are a local business or service. So obviously within that, you have another segment of that that is relevant to legal, and then within that to your specific practice areas. But break down those big numbers and you still have a lot of relevant customers. And of those, they're pretty qualified as well. 28% of the local searches end up in a purchase. So yeah, people are actively searching for a product or service, ideally your product or service. And if you can capture those clicks, then it's traffic, but it's also a bit of an endorsement from Google. Like, you are good enough to make it to the top of the page, then you must be the leader in your market. So a very, very effective channel in that sense. It's also cost effective. In general, even if you're purchasing SEO and like paying through an agency, the customer acquisition cost is 9% lower than ads. And for most SMB local businesses, it's going to be their highest ROI channel. So I think in general, everyone is pretty much on board with the idea of getting more free customers from Google and free clicks. That part is great. The controversial part is, should you actually invest in SEO as a marketing activity? Should you hire an SEO agency or do it yourself? So to that point, I think this chart on the right here is interesting because it shows the growth of local businesses with and without SEO over the past 3 years. And a pattern that we noticed is that the gap between people who invest in SEO and are actively doing SEO and those who are not is actually growing. It used to be about the same, and you could expect about the same level of traffic growth. Now, in 2022, the most recent year, people who are not investing in SEO actually declined a bit, and those who are still grew a good chunk. So we feel like it's becoming more competitive, it's becoming more saturated, and the importance of really being serious about SEO as something that you have to proactively do rather than just Google's going to give me all of this because I'm a great company. That's really kind of evolving and changing.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. So for a company or for a firm who hasn't been investing in SEO right now, or maybe they are and they're not sure quite if it's working, how can they look at or evaluate if they should make changes, if it's working at all, and kind of how effective it is for them?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andrew. So a lot of people pay attention to just one or two keywords. Like if you type in the your main practice area followed by your city, for example, those tend to be the most competitive keywords that there are because they're the obvious ones. They're what everyone is going after. A better way to evaluate it, rather than looking at rankings just in a few areas, is to look at your overall organic traffic and ideally follow that all the way through to overall organic leads and the number of customers who are coming from organic sources. And when I say organic, then that means Google and other search engines, but non-paid clicks from those search engines. If you're seeing that grow over time, if you're seeing a good number of users who are looking for services specifically, then you're probably doing a good job because you need the traffic, but you need the right kind of traffic. And both those pieces need to come together to actually drive new business.
Awesome. And what about a firm? Maybe they have a few 3 to 5 attorneys who all have kind of different practice areas. Does Scorpion, and do you have a strategy on how they can help all 5? What's kind of the effectiveness of multiple services or multiple locations?
Yeah, that's a really good strategic question. So, I mean, I have a case study here that is an example of that, actually. I'll say in general, you want to cast your net in proportion to the size of your business. So if you are already fairly established, you've been around for a while, you have a lot of general like presence on the internet, mentions of your business, things like that, then you're going to have an easier time casting a broad net and still being competitive. If you're a newer firm, a smaller firm, or in a more competitive, larger metro area, then you're going to want to narrow that scope as much as possible. Much better to dominate one area just speaking from the search engine wise, I mean, you can still have active practice areas in other areas, but for SEO purposes and for Google rankings, dominate the rankings in one area, become really known by Google as an expert in that area. And then you can always expand from that beachhead later. But it's much better to do that than to not be competitive in 5 different areas.
Awesome. That's great advice. Do you want to dive into that case study real quick?
Yeah, that would be a great segue. Sure. So this was actually a client who covers many different practice areas. And I mentioned that one of the things that we're trying to do differently is apply AI to SEO to make it a little bit more efficient. So AI for the long time has kind of been in the dark ages. It's been more of an art than a science. And what we've done is built AI software that studies your market, studies your website, and then identifies the best specific opportunities for you to grow traffic. So the work itself is still done by humans and always will be. We have a really fantastic team of SEO specialists. They know their stuff really, really well. It's just, we want them working on the websites, working on connecting with your customers and others in your market. We don't want them analyzing data all day long. So that analyzing data piece is done by the AI, and it can identify opportunities like this. So this particular client, they had a couple of subtleties around keywords that they should be targeting. They wanted initially to rank for personal injury lawyer in Springfield, for example, but the AI analysis uncovered that actually when someone is searching for a personal injury lawyer, they're more likely to search at the state level in a state like Missouri. So we started to uncover keywords like Missouri personal injury attorneys or personal injury lawyers Springfield MO, adding that state abbreviation, because of course the AI knows there are many other Springfield variations. And when people search for the town Springfield, they have to add the state to make sure that they get something local. And if you go to the next slide here, you can see there's all kinds of variations of this. So this one was super interesting because personal injury searched statewide. Estate planning, people were more likely, I think it was about twice as likely to search for a variation within the city and within their local area. So those kinds of subtle details are different for every market. They're different for every practice area. It's thousands and thousands of data points. An AI system can pour through all of those and identify the best specific opportunities. And we're also looking at not just the opportunity, but how difficult it is. So these keywords were surfaced because they were things that we thought this particular client could be competitive for. And sure enough, when our specialists went in and made the recommended changes, then we saw a lot of rankings jump up onto page 1. So those green numbers, +8, +6, +38, those are the increase in rankings of these keywords following the work done by our SEO team. So it's really kind of best of both worlds there. You get the AI doing the number crunching and the analysis, you get the experts doing the actual implementation and connection with your clients.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about timeline? I think that when you're trying to start something new or put a new investment into a marketing strategy, you have an expectation that new clients are going to start rolling in the door as soon as you press go. So for maybe starting an SEO strategy early on, kind of what's the time frame that you should expect results? And also maybe speak to how ranking AI and the speed at which the AI can evaluate that data, how that gives you kind of an upper edge against your competitors.
Yeah, exactly. So SEO, I mean, we always look at SEO as something where the analogy is SEO is farming, paid advertising is hunting. SEO is something where you're investing into the site and you're investing into your long-term growth. It's much more cost effective. It sticks around for a long, long time. So even after you stop paying your SEO service, you'll continue to get all those great clicks and rankings for many, many years. So it is long term. That said, the AI, a big part of what we're trying to accomplish is zeroing in on things that are likely to generate a fast return. And that does generally mean finding the right balance between difficulty and value. And you may see us going after keywords that aren't necessarily the headline keywords in your particular market. And that's because we know that we can get some rankings and get some new customers coming in the door, within a month or two with that approach, even if it's a smaller number. But then it might be 6 months or even a year before we're going after those really competitive, really valuable keywords. Yeah, and if you go to the next slide here, actually, you can see the for this particular example that I was walking through, those optimizations that I mentioned were done in June. So in this case, because those keywords were achievable in the short term and were correctly identified by the AI, we were able to see 79% improvement in their organic traffic within 2 months. So that's an exceptional case. That's when we get it exactly right, and there are opportunities that are meaningful, that are ripe for the plucking. And that's definitely what we aim for.
Awesome. That's great. Can you talk a little bit about just how your website, we had that stat in the beginning of 75% kind of turning away if your website's not great, but how does the way Scorpion creates websites for its clients combined with our SEO team, kind of how does that work? Why is it important to have your website structured correctly to benefit your SEO?
Yeah, I mean, that's so it's important to have your website structured well and an attractive, usable website, because that's the experience that Google wants to provide to their users, right? So when we're doing SEO, we're not trying to use any kind of manipulative tricks or anything like that to sort of make Google think that your website or your business is better than it actually is. Like, we're trying to genuinely make the website better. And that starts with the foundation that you get with a Scorpion website. When Google looks at things like when someone clicks through from the Google results to a page, do they say, "Ooh, that's ugly," and immediately click back to the search engine results? Or do they say, "Wow, this is a good looking site. It looks professional. There's really useful information on here." Google has all of that data, right? I mean, they have Chrome, they have Android, et cetera, et cetera. So they know exactly what people are doing on your website and on competitors' websites. And what you want is a website that engages every searcher and every customer and gives them useful information, educates them, turns a tire kicker website visitor into a really qualified and educated customer. So in that sense, our website goals and our SEO goals are pretty perfectly aligned there, I think.
Awesome. We just had a question come in for the Q&A that I think would be good to just answer now because we're on the topic. So Nicole asked, what specific qualities make a website well structured, kind of from general and also in an SEO standpoint? If you want to talk about SEO, Matt, and I can chime in on general if needed.
Yeah, that sounds great. So I love this question. So what Google really wants to see is a site that is well organized thematically. So if you think about an encyclopedia or Wikipedia or something like that, then it'll have a large topic area, like you might have family law, and then within family law you might have child custody or high net worth divorce and so on. And by structuring your website in a way that groups those related topics together and hierarchically, just like an encyclopedia would, you make it a lot easier for Google to understand what those pages and the site overall are about. And it really just kind of establishes you as an expert. So that takes a lot of content, right? A lot of pages usually. And sometimes you'll even extend in your practice hierarchy. So you have each practice broken down. And then below that, you might have 10 blog posts related to child custody, say, and each of those elaborates on another aspect of that. And when users see that kind of structure, or when Google sees that kind of structure, it just really makes it clear, wow, this person really knows this topic well. They've covered it very thoroughly. There's a lot of wonderful information here. So you're not just kind of satisfying the first thing that the user has on their mind when they search, but just like with Wikipedia, it's like 10 clicks later, you're still going deeper and deeper into the topic. And that's really what they want to see from the SEO perspective. How about from the customer perspective?
Yeah, I think to start, thinking about exactly what your website is there for, which is it serves as a way for potential clients to contact you and to learn more about you and their practice. Hiring an attorney is a personal kind of, it's more than going to buy an iPhone, right? You're going to be working with this person. You might be talking about really sensitive information. And a lot of times when you're looking for an attorney, it might not be the happiest of times either in some cases. So really the structure of your website from kind of just the client perspective should be well informed on what you do, about your practice, your credentials, which also ties into SEO and digital advertising too, right? If you're spending money on certain keywords and then when they land on your website, it doesn't say anything about that in your practice, kind of a red flag, right? So for your website, you should be able to talk about your practice, about you as an attorney, kind of how the firm works, and then also make sure you have sufficient ways for clients to contact you, whether that's chat, lead forms, phone numbers, all of those things, so that when someone hits your website, they know exactly how to get in touch with you and hire you.
I like that. That's a good addition, definitely.
Awesome. So this is kind of, we're wrapping up the SEO section. We're going to talk about advertising, but Matt, is there anything else that you think differentiates Scorpion, a really big kind of competitive advantage for our clients? Kind of final thoughts on SEO and why you should invest in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the AI technology piece I love, clearly. I mean, that's what I've invested, 10 plus years of my career in. And I do think that's absolutely the future. Like Google is an algorithm, computer algorithms understand other algorithms better than we can. But that's only one piece of the puzzle. A really important aspect of Scorpion is that we've been specialized in the legal market for 20 years. When I say SEO specialist that you're working with, it's not just someone who knows SEO, it's someone who specifically knows legal SEO, right? And they've worked within that industry. They know the practice areas. There are lots of obviously like legal requirements around how you can market and promote yourself within content and so on that need to be respected, as well as just the the nuances of the information and how it can be presented to be like both compassionate and compelling. And those are things that are hard to do, that an AI will never do. And Scorpion's advantage really is having those people who have done that many, many times successfully for clients throughout the country. And I think that's a irreplaceable value.
Awesome. Thank you. I loved your hunting, farming. So we're going to move to hunting. We're done farming now. And we'll go to Ashley to talk a little bit about digital advertising and how that can help you get those right clients as well. Ashley?
Yeah, ditto that on the metaphor. I think I'll start to incorporate that myself. And, like the thing that we look at here at Scorpion with regards to advertising, especially for attorneys, for those of you that do advertise or have been advertising digitally, especially with things like Google search, I'm sure you've noticed over the years, the costs have been going up, right? Your cost per click, your cost per acquisition, whatever your cost per metric is that you look at to manage your advertising performance, it's been going up across the board for not only legal, home services, really any type of advertising, especially in the local space. A lot of reasons and a lot of drivers behind that. Google's reducing the number of ad units available. More and more people want to advertise. And really, it's by design that it makes Google more money, and it makes it harder and harder for you, the practice, to operate successfully. And so one of the things that we look at, there's many things we look at, but we really have looked into the diversification of your advertising channels. And I would equate it almost to managing a stock market portfolio or an asset portfolio, right? You're not exactly sure what gets hot when, you don't know where you can get the best bang for your buck always. But if you diversify your channels out, You get a really good blend of performance. And overall, we've noticed at Scorpion, through what we've done, it really does help reduce your advertising costs. And so the other key to this is that how do you manage these budgets together, right? And I think many of you may be thinking through things like, okay, I could manage a Google budget, I can manage a Bing budget, I can manage an LSA budget, I can manage other types of directory budgets out there. But what's also important is, can you dynamically manage these so that your budget shift from channel to channel daily, even so much, so that it reduces the volatility of when you get your leads, and it improves the consistency of when you get your leads, especially for the types of cases that you're all looking for in your different areas.
Awesome. So I used to work in the law firm world. I did a lot of phone book ads, buses, billboards, things that were hard to track and hard to say were working. So one of the things I love about the digital advertising realm is that if it's working faster, you can adapt. Are there other benefits outside of those for people looking to kind of get started in digital advertising compared to they might still be spending a lot of money on, high school gymnasium banners and those kinds of things?
Right. I love my old high school gymnasiums and, good old high school sports. But to your point, though, I also come from the traditional marketing and advertising world. And many years ago, I made the shift out of that world into the digital marketing and advertising world for all the obvious reasons that we know of, right? The phone books are thinning, newspaper circulation is thinning, the demographic of the market or of these media types that consume these things, they're aging. Linear TV is not what it used to be. And it's important that we think about where our consumers are growing into and going towards. Just recently, something to think about, I mentioned channels. I recently, for my mother, needed to set up a trust for her, right? Using a newer channel, Thumbtack. For those that don't know Thumbtack, it's heavily thought of as a home services app to find a local professional to do things like build a deck for you or fix your plumbing. It also has a broad array of attorneys that, also advertise there. And, look for new channels, look for emerging channels. I was able to find an attorney. My mom lives in Los Angeles. I live in Phoenix. So therefore, it was a little difficult for me to know, the local marketplace. I got a trust set up very quickly for her. She's very well taken care of. I was very happy that I could find this attorney. And I did so through a different type of technology that we're, familiar with, because we all think of the Google search as the only place to get found as an attorney.
Yeah, definitely. What about any advice or experience you've had with advertising on kind of more legal focused directories? I had no idea the attorneys were being as active on Thumbtack, so that's cool. But are there others that Scorpion works with where kind of attorney focused?
Yeah, I mean, definitely we want to, still work through our traditional channels, Google, Bing, Google local services ads. As far as Scorpion goes, we are always looking for additional channels. We use other direct resources out there to generate quality legal leads for you. And the key is, it's not just generating a lead, but it's also generating the right lead at the right ROI for you.
Awesome. Can you talk a little bit about kind of what, we've talked about targeting the right client and kind of knowing who your right client is. So in digital advertising, kind of what's the unique abilities of targeting, and like how are we helping you get the right client? What kind of makes digital advertising different?
Yeah, and one of the things working with Scorpion, we will definitely help us do this, but there are many signals out there that exist for different advertising platforms to improve how they target advertisements and placements for you, the attorney, right? With that being said, sharing matchback data or client data, right? Who became a client? What was the value of that client? What did you retain or earn as an attorney or as a law firm? If you feed that back into the platforms then use their artificial intelligence systems to then better identify and locate opportunities for you to win business, right? So it's one of the easier things you can do to help yourself. It's one of the most effective things you can do to help yourself. And it's definitely something that from an AI perspective, it's a very, very powerful signal to give a platform to help them identify how to match the right searcher for the right business.
Awesome. And similar to SEO, right? There's a lot of companies vying for all the same business. There's a lot of practices. Regardless of market, you probably have some good competition. So kind of how can people look at that daunting task and strategize to make digital advertising more effective? We've kind of talked about diversifying channels. Do you have any other advice kind of in that realm?
Absolutely, Andrew. Another big shift we made here at Google or at Scorpion is, especially with your Google advertising, be careful about placing your bids. You know, how much you're willing to pay for an event. Be very careful about placing your bids for placement. We at Scorpion really focus on how we bid for your opportunities based off of the return on investment we're targeting, right? And so what that means is if you're only going to bid for that only single ad position that exists on a search engine, you may be paying, hundreds, you may be paying upwards of, $400 or $500 a click if you're not careful, right? And so think through the opposite lens of, is a motor vehicle accident case worth, $1,000 to me? Is it worth $2,000 to me? Or is it worth $500 to me? Think through that lens of how you place your bids across different advertising platforms so that you're not chasing the top placement, which is very expensive. And, the ROI diminishes very quickly. Think through more along the lines of diversification and also being smart about how you place your bids.
Awesome. And I think, do you have a client kind of a success story you wanted to talk about a little bit more here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What you see on the right here is I ran across this very recently. I don't read a lot of legal news, but I did read this somehow. And I found out that bankruptcy filings are actually on the rise again for the first time in a few years, right? We think about what happened through the pandemic, right? There was a big pull forward event of bankruptcies for the reasons of, the pandemic and the economic shutdown. But 2021 and 2022, from what I understood, if you were a bankruptcy attorney, was a very, very difficult and lean year. We actually work with an attorney in the Indianapolis area, right? It's a 2-partner law firm. They should hit their revenue goals this year of about $2 million. They're actually telling us now, which is awesome, that they're on pace to hit their revenue levels of the pre-pandemic eras, like early 2020, 2019. And a lot of this is because they never gave up on advertising, right? They advertised through the tough times, and now that the times are getting better, their business is growing and yielding from that in a very, very positive way. And so, as I mentioned before, they follow our best practices. Let us know who becomes a client. Let us feed that into your advertising platforms to make those platforms smarter for you. B, let's be very smart about how we bid on ads so that the placements are, reasonably priced so that the return on investment for your cases is profitable, right? And C, don't just advertise on Google. Let's look at other channels out there to make sure that we can get leads from other sources that'll provide you a better balance of performance throughout a given month. And so, as I said, this law firm, it's only 2 partners. There's only so much resources they have to go around. They use their dollars and spend their dollars very wisely, as I'm sure all of you do as well. And, we want to make sure that we do that in a very prudent way.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. Any final digital advertising thoughts before we kind of talk about reputation a little bit?
Yeah, I would really like to stress, the aggressiveness of the legal industry on advertising is always been, near the top, right? And, placing $1,000 bid for an injury case may not be the best thing to do, because that becomes very expensive very fast and it'll exhaust your budgets very quickly, right? And so my advice to any practice out there is, be prudent about how aggressive you want to be. Think through the lens of return on investment, right? And if you think through that lens as far as how you, budget your advertising, I think you're going to be a much happier law firm.
Awesome. Thank you. Kind of the last piece that we wanted to talk about today during this webinar is reputation and reviews. Something that I think is growing a lot more in the legal field. People are becoming more and more aware of the importance of reviews, and clients are also looking through them and reading them quite heavily. So there's some great stats down here. 82% of clients check reviews before hiring a lawyer. One disappointed customer will share their negative experience with 10 to 15 people, which is it's a big chain of people hearing about it. And then 89% of consumers read companies' responses to reviews as well. So I think reputation reviews is still new overall, right? I think in the legal world, it used to be a lot of word of mouth, which is essentially an offline review. And these online reviews are becoming more and more read and kind of important. So Matt, can you talk a little bit about how your reviews, whether you're getting them or not, your rating, et cetera, affect your SEO?
Yeah, definitely. So put yourselves in the shoes of a Google engineer for a minute. Like, you want to be able to help surface the businesses that everybody loves, that are very popular, that are going to give your searchers a really good customer experience. And you need to find signals on the internet that correlate with that and that suggest that's the experience they're going to get. So reviews are a key part of that. Google is looking at two main things when it comes to reviews. One is called review velocity, and that's the number of reviews incoming over a time period, like reviews per month. And that's, you're interested in the recent time. So in the past few months, how many reviews per month are you achieving? That's because some people will get a burst of reviews when they send out a mass mail or something like that, but then taper off and get 0 reviews for the next 3 months. That's obviously not as active or as good of a business as someone who has a steady stream of reviews coming in. Second, they look at the average review rating. So across all of those customer reviews, how, are you 4.3 or are you 2.1, et cetera. And they look at that across many platforms. So obviously Google tends to favor their own platform. So your Google business profile is extremely important, but beyond that, having a presence and good reviews coming into other platforms like Yelp and Facebook and Avo and so on is also really important. So extremely important signals in SEO.
Awesome. Yeah, I think something that I'm always amazed by is even typing an address into like Maps on my iPhone, it'll bring up their reviews or their rating from Google or Yelp or somewhere. So those ratings are everywhere. What about you, Ashley? How does your reputation kind of affect the effectiveness of your ads?
Yeah, everything Matt said, and then more. You think about any ad placement in terms of a legal ad, right? It's very difficult for that ad not to be accompanied with some type of review, some type of review rating, and exposure to a lot of different sources of reviews, right? And so in many platforms, review performance, rating, and also quantity and velocity also contribute to how ads rank. You may have an advantageous situation if you're getting a steady stream of positive reviews into your business with the different platforms you'll be advertising on. And not to mention a great review and a series of great reviews gives you a lot of credibility as a law firm, because as Andrew mentioned before, it's a process to hire an attorney. You want to know that somebody is going to be representing you to the very best of what you can buy as a consumer, and you want to know that that somebody that may be a stranger can be a trusted partner very, very quickly. And so definitely helps with conversion performance, definitely helps with your cost per acquisition, your cost per lead. And reviews are they're the pinnacle of what you can earn as a business because they give you back so much.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I was going to say, just from like a client or consumer perspective, I think people are looking at if you have recent reviews, how old the last one is, which can show either how involved you are, could make them question if you're still doing business or still practicing. Your kind of rating overall is a quick glance at how people think about you, and then also your response. And if you're responding to people and kind of taking their feedback, I think is important too. I will note that I do think there are some state bar ethics guidelines on like requesting reviews and soliciting those. So that's always something that you should be cognizant of, is how what ethics rules there are around you asking people for their reviews. Yeah, any other questions you guys have about reviews and reputation, or things we should talk about? Think we're set. Well, this is kind of the last section of our presentation. We have some time for a Q&A. We answered a couple questions in the chat, but if anyone has any more questions, please, we'll wait a second and see if anyone pops those in there. Someone did ask earlier, they were more interested in, they need a website first, and asking kind of if we were going to cover that, which we didn't cover in this, but Scorpion is known for our websites. Your website is a super critical component of your marketing strategy. And the way I think about it is it's really the kind of the foundation, and all of our other services and how we help businesses kind of build off of that. So if you're looking for a website, that is kind of phase one for Scorpion, and kind of where we help you first. And then we can add on these kind of services to build your practice as it goes. So if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. We'll wait a couple more minutes, and then if not, we can end a little bit early and let everyone get back to their day.
Andrew, on that website piece, I just want to note, in SEO, we love it when you are building a website with an SEO strategy right from the beginning. And it's very challenging. Like, so many people will go and they'll plan out their website, they'll launch their website, and then they'll engage an SEO agency or SEO consultant and say, all right, like, let's put our strategy together now. And it just doesn't work that way. There's so much around how you structure the site, the content that you put on there, even the technical aspects of it, that are much better done in the planning phase. So that's really a great advantage at Scorpion, is being able to go from day one, having those teams working hand in hand to make sure everything works together. Awesome.
Definitely. It's great. Well, great. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Oh, hold on. I got one. Is there a way to incentivize clients who have had a positive experience with your firm to leave reviews that doesn't fall into solicitation? It's a great question. I think doing really great work is one that I think elicits a review, right? I think people are naturally drawn to leaving a review if they have a really bad experience or a really great experience. The middle ground is a little bit less, I really want to leave a review. So I think complementing the client experience, making things easy, understanding just simple things of how they want to communicate, what their expectations are, and really driving those results for them, regardless of the case, I think helps foster more reviews, even without asking for them or incentivizing them. And it really depends on which state you're in, ethics rules, and what they count. So I think there's creative ways to do it. You just have to kind of work through those individually for where you're at. And yes, another question was if you'll be getting a recording. You will be getting a recording in your email this afternoon or tomorrow. So yes. Great. I think that's all the questions we've got. Thank you again for all your expertise, Ashley and Matt, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Great speaking with you. Thank you.